I'm Chris Farrell, and this is On Watch. Welcome to On Watch, everybody, the Judicial Watch podcast, where we go behind the headlines to cover news and information that the old legacy media really does not want you to know about. We try to recover some lost history and explain the inexplicable. Today, we're very fortunate to have joining us Walter Curt. Walter is an independent investigative journalist who has broken an incredible story about some really, in my view, criminal misconduct in Fairfax County, Virginia public schools. And I don't think many of you out there watching or listening to this would be too terribly shocked to learn that there are allegedly, and I say that, with all the usual legal cautions, allegedly there are Fairfax County public school staff procuring abortions for teenage girls. Walter, welcome to On Watch.
Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Please give us the 100,000-foot overview. Your reporting has really broken a story that probably is making a lot of people in Northern Virginia very nervous right now. Tell us what you learned.
So we figured out, or over the past couple of weeks, I was brought a story that I thought was just, honestly, when I first heard it, was just a bit too shocking to believe. But then you start looking at it, and the evidence is there. So two teenage girls, minors at the time of this occurred, were assisted in getting abortions or being being set up for abortion procedures. One of them went through with it, and the other one did not. But the deal is that the school organized it, set it all up, and did not inform the parents, which is in direct violation of Virginia law.
And what school are we talking about? Where is this in Fairfax County?
Fairfax Centerville High School is the school.
Centerville High School in Fairfax, Virginia. When you discovered this information, how were you able to verify or get confirmation for your own journalistic reporting threshold of credibility?
Well, at first, when you hear something like this, it's, wow, there's no way that's really going on, right? But then you see what I have, which is I've got a signed letter, a directly signed letter from the girl saying this did happen. And then I have the teacher herself who was willing to go on the record using her name, giving me direct quotes saying, you can quote me, you can say this. And I've got recordings from the, from the parents, or I guess it's the legal guardian in this case for one of the girls, saying that, yeah, they didn't inform them at all of this. They didn't tell them about it at all. They facilitated it. They set it all up, and I was not informed. So, there's written evidence, there's visual evidence, there's audio evidence. I mean, it's pretty much open and shut. There's no way they can deny it.
I went on to your Substack or your reporting, wcdispatch.com, and looked at your reporting. And as part of that, you actually have the audio of the teacher, a very brave teacher, Ms. Perez, and she explains exactly what happened. That's astounding that this woman has come forward and been so forthcoming. I'm sure enormous pressure was brought against her. Is that true?
Absolutely. And this is what I've been trying to highlight to people is that it's, the real hero of the story is the teacher. She was willing to come forward, tell her story, put herself on the record and put herself on the line just to get this story up, because she's been trying to do this for a couple of years, and they've been trying to silence her. They've been trying to get after her. And the reason that the audio recording I released, it was actually intentional on my part. The school, after the initial story broke, they tried, within a couple days of it going national, they started denying it and saying, oh, we're opening an investigation. This is horrible. Well, that was what I was waiting for. That's when I released the recording. It was exactly 4 days later. So they released it, this is terrible. We can't allow this to happen. So I released the recording, and that recording is in May. So they knew about this, and they've known about this. And according to Ms. Perez, they've known about it for some significant period of time.
And what period of time is that? It's a matter of years now, I guess.
Absolutely. So according to Ms. Perez, on record that we have in the audio recordings knows that that's at least May of this year that they know about it. But according to Ms. Perez, this has been going on for a couple of years. So this 2022 is when she said she initially brought it to their attention and was ignored.
So Ms. Perez is a hero because she has the guts to stand up and do the right thing and tell the truth. And I would imagine that there was enormous pressure placed on her in an effort to threaten and intimidate her. That conclusion is based on, in part, on your reporting, but also in part from other stories I've heard coming out of Fairfax County schools. So Ms. Perez is really the hero, but who's involved? Have you identified various actors who purportedly were involved in this abortion procurement for minors?
Yeah, so the main culprit in this, apparently, according to Ms. Perez, is actually the social worker. Her name is Carolina Diaz, and she still works for FCPS, by the way. And so does Chad Lehman, who's the principal, who apparently facilitated, and according to the sources that I have, they say that he was the one that helped pay for it and set up the payment for it. But they claim that they actually FOIA documents and got proof of the transactions of this happening. Now, I haven't personally seen that, so that's still allegedly in my eyes until I have hands on the documents. But they say they have them. But they,
now, who's the they in that sentence?
That would be the two teachers that really brought this to me. So Ms. Perez and another teacher that brought that forward to me, that I haven't used her name because she didn't tell me I could use it
Okay,
yet,
so they've documented this purportedly through open records request to Fairfax County Public Schools.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. It would be great to get those records and show the payments.
Yeah, I want to see exactly how they paid for it. That's what I would love to see, because the deal to me is that they've obviously been trying to cover this up for a while. And if you look at the record for Fairfax, they constantly cover stuff up. I mean, once I started digging into this school, it's cover up after cover up after cover up, and they've been doing this for years. And it's amazing to me that they just get away with this stuff.
Give us an idea of the kind of stuff that Fairfax County has been engaged in.
So there's another story that was broken by Luke Rosiak a couple years ago, that there's apparently a girl that was in Fairfax middle schools. I don't know the exact school on that, but there's a whole court document that shows this and talks about it, that apparently she was a 12-year-old girl that was molested and had all sorts of problems in the school. There was there's allegations of a gang rape on the school campus, and no one heard about it. No one talked about it. But I was reading the reporting yesterday and was going, well, this is nuts. Why did no one know about this stuff? But there's also there was a recruitment scandal for football. There's special ed moms that are currently suing the school because of other things that they've been doing. I mean, it seems to me that Fairfax has been yet another one of these Northern Virginia schools that their school board believes they can do whatever they want. They don't have to answer to the parents or answer to anybody else, and they just do whatever they please. And if you ask questions about it, they come after you legally.
Now, I know that Fairfax County Public Schools, generally speaking, at sort of a very superficial level, has an excellent reputation. I mean, it's my belief, and from stories that I've heard, there are people that, they'll do anything virtually to get their kid, into the right, in other words, when it comes to purchasing a home or moving into Fairfax County, people go to great lengths to try to be able to be in the district to qualify to send their kids to Fairfax County schools. That's kind of their PR. That's their public image, is that they're very high end when it comes to public school systems. Is that correct?
Well, the PR image that they may have may be good, and they may have good ratings according to their school standards, but that doesn't mean that they're not going after parents and causing all kinds of problems. These people have been very meticulous in their efforts to try and silence these stories. I mean, you look at the way that they hire law firms and they sue people. The girl from this initial story that I just told you a minute ago, the girl that was supposedly molested and had all this stuff happen when she was 12, they went through the court system and forced her to pay legal fees and all sorts of other stuff. I mean, to me, I think this is a very well organized group of people that have been trying to maintain this status that they have, even though it's pretty clear that they're run by radicals.
So Fairfax County Public Schools hired attorneys and went on the offensive against the 12-year-old girl?
Well, I mean, she's now in her later years, but yes, she has apparently she lost the court case too. I mean, they brought it all the way forward and they made her pay legal fees and all sorts of other stuff. So that's something that Luke Rosiak broke, and I was actually just speaking the other day with the girl from that story because I'm trying to figure out the next layer of this. I mean, the initial reporting I break, to me, it was like, okay, now I'm paying attention because this is real stuff and this is obviously true that this is happening. So what was I going to do next into it? I'm like, I think the real story is that this school constantly covers things up, and they do it by legal means, and they do it by pressuring people, and they do it by going after the people that speak against them. I mean, Miss Perez in this scenario, I really do like to highlight her bravery, but the deal is that she's a unique teacher. She's a Cuban immigrant that fled communism to come to the United States. So I think that she knows what it takes to go up against people like that because of where her background is. And that, to me, is what I think really made her stand out.
So Ms. Perez, she's on the record, or at least has told you, that she was pressured or threatened or intimidated, or there was some kind of leverage used against her for calling out this this abortion procurement operation by the school?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of documents on that, actually. I have written statements from, so what they started doing to try and pressure her and get her to resign and all sorts of stuff. They had students go to her and start requesting strange things. And she, is smart enough to see through that. And she got the students to then sign and write written documents, handwritten documents, and sign them saying that they were told to come ask her to do things that were against school policy intentionally. And that their intention by doing that was they were going to try and take that and make her and pressure her to either resign or be fired. And I have the documents for that.
That's really creepy stuff. If the school administrators are trying to target a teacher like that for trying to tell the truth, that's Orwellian. That is really creepy stuff. You mentioned that there's this woman, Diaz, who's some sort of a social worker, and she's the one who facilitated or allegedly promoted or created the conditions for this girl to have an abortion?
Yes. So apparently the social worker, and this is by direct statement from the teacher, Ms. Perez, that she is the one that facilitated the entire operation. So she would set up the procedures, she would get them there, she would pay for it, and then as you probably heard in the recording, if you listen to the recording, that she says that she asked one of the girls from this scenario, she said, "Well, how did you who paid for it?" She said, "Oh no, it was free." Well, how is it free? That's the real question. We don't have free medical procedures in this country.
Right. And I guess there's a second girl, and she was sort of teed up or put in a position where she was, I guess, about ready to have the abortion, 5 months pregnant, and then she said, "No way," and she either left or fled or didn't go through with it. Is that correct?
That's right. So that's actually, to me, the more shocking story. Because the story in that is that this girl was, again, a minor at the time, I think 17 years old or 16 years old. I can't remember specifically on that one. I need to check my notes. But she said that she was told she had no option. She had to go through with the abortion. They set it up. They get her there. They say that this is your only choice. You've got no other choice. You got to do this. And this girl said, "No, I'm not doing it." And she ran from the clinic. And that's mind blowing to me that even happened. But, if that's true, then they were trying to pressure someone into getting an abortion that didn't want one. And I have confirmation the girl did end up having the baby, so she did not go through with it.
Well, thank God for that. Is it the same abortion facility being used in both instances that you've reported on?
Yes. So the abortion facility is Fairfax Healthcare Center is the name of the facility. And, I actually went and looked at it. After I heard about this story, I was like, okay, I got to go. They tell me it's in a sketchy area. I was like, what does that mean? So I went and looked. It's one of those things. It's like in a multi-complex. It's not like its own separate facility. And the outside door to their facility is locked, even during business hours. And further than that, which is just weird to me, is there's a driver's ed center in the same building. How nice is that? So, you got I-66 merging training and an abortion center right next door. So, it's pretty sick stuff, to be honest with you.
So this Diaz woman appears to be the person who's coordinating it or lining it up. And the principal of the school was a guy named Chad Lehman.
Mm-hmm. So Chad Lehman was the principal at the time when this happened, and he has now been promoted, apparently.
Of course. I mean, I'm sure he was promoted. That's the way it works. Yeah.
That's right. So now he is the executive principal of Region 5 or something like that. But this is the guy that, he is, according to Ms. Perez, that, she told him about this and he ignored her and didn't say anything about it, didn't look into it, didn't do anything about it. And, he's been promoted and moved up in the system. And, that's just how it goes for these groups, right?
I was listening to that audio tape on your site, and Ms. Perez, when she brings it up to Mr. Lehman, he suddenly develops amnesia. Mm-hmm. And she reminds him, "Well, don't worry. I've got it all documented in emails to and from you." So I'm sure that really made his day when all of a sudden his recollection was refreshed, as attorneys would say, about her reporting on this incident.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing that I thought was pretty amazing about this is that Miss Perez knew what she was doing. She knew that she was going to have problems with these people. She started recording conversations. I mean, what kind of scenario are you in where you know that you need to record everything that you're saying?
Yeah, well,
That means
I mean, she
you
came
know.
from Cuba, right? So
That's right.
she knows exactly what she's dealing with. I have friends in Eastern Europe, actually specifically folks living in what is now Eastern Germany, and they'll tell their friends in Western Germany, well, you're from the West, but we're from your future, right? They already have been through. So this Mrs. Perez, the teacher who's on the right side of this, she understands the tactics and techniques that are being used against her. So that's why she's very smart in the way that she has handled this. There's a couple of other characters involved in this, and I want to get your read on it. There's someone named Michelle Reed, who purports to be the superintendent or the chief educator of Fairfax County Public Schools. What's her role in this?
Well, she's the superintendent that has her own armed security detail and is getting paid almost $500,000 a year. From everything I've seen, she knew about all this stuff. And from what I understand, from what I'm told from other sources, is that she is actively involved in a lot of the cover-ups in this stuff. So, it seems to me that this is the woke leader at the top that, makes sure that everybody keeps in line and, doesn't talk about things that you're not supposed to talk about. But she was the one that released the statement saying, at no point would this be acceptable in Fairfax County schools. And that's when I released the recording. I was waiting for that statement from her, and that's when I released the recording.
Right. There's another character whose name pops up in the reporting, and that's a guy named James Mackey. Mm-hmm. And so what's James Mackey doing in this story?
Well, James Mackey is actually the employee relations investigator for FCPS. And that in the recording, it's kind of difficult to hear the guy talking in the background, which is why I included that I have a witness that was there at the meeting as well. And I spoke with the witness, and he confirmed to me that James Mackey was there, that this meeting occurred. And that's what the recording is that is Ms. Perez telling James Mackey, the investigator for FCPS, that this occurred and that this was covered up and that no one has done anything about it.
So James Mackey is an investigator. So supposedly he's looking into this matter. Is that correct?
You would assume so. If she told them about it in May, you would assume that means they knew all about it and they were looking into it.
So my guess, I could be wrong, but my guess is that James Mackey is not a sworn law enforcement officer. My guess is that he's just some guy from the administration who goes around and tries to put out fires. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that would be an accurate assessment, especially since the story broke. I was told, and this is new information specifically to your show, you'd be the first people to hear about this, that Ms. Perez was immediately after this story broke, that they brought in an outside lawyer to start looking into things and had her interviewed, and they're supposedly investigating. So they've got a new investigator that's going to go in and interview her and ask her for all this information that she has in email, in written statement, in audio statement, has told them all about, and they know about it. My advice to her was, you don't need to talk to any of these people. These people are not state or law authorities. I wouldn't bring anything. I don't trust any of these people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll introduce another name to the mix we have here. There's a guy named Steve Descano. Do you know who Steve Descano is?
I am aware of Steve Descano.
Steve Descano. He's a Soros-funded Fairfax County District Attorney.
Yeah, shocking that we can't get things to happen there, isn't it weird? I wonder why.
So in my view, there's what do I know? I've only been doing this for 42 years. But in my experience and my informed opinion, this is a law enforcement matter. We have allegations of criminal activity. And rather than having James Mackey running around or some other law firm coming in trying to intimidate Ms. Perez, you really need, actually at this point I think it's even beyond Mr. Descano at Fairfax County DA, and it's beyond the Fairfax County PD. There's a guy there who's the chief of police named Ken Davis. I think it's outside the scope of their capabilities. They're probably conflicted. So in my view, the Attorney General in Virginia, Mr. Miyares, who probably has a distinctly different prosecutorial viewpoint than Mr. Descano. I think the Attorney General, Miyares, needs to drop a couple of investigators in at Fairfax County Public Schools and find out what's going on. Because from my read and from talking to you, it appears to me that they are completely out of control.
That's what I would say. I say that, when I saw this story, when I break this story out and everything starts being looking into it, and I'm looking into the history of Fairfax, I think that they have no intention whatsoever of truly investigating or doing anything like that. When they say they've got an open investigation, we've external, that means we're looking for the next best way to cover it up, and that's my eyes on it.
Yeah, it normally means shut up and go away. Is what that's the shorthand translation for the average person who's interested in this. So, this begs the question, what other instances are there of Fairfax County Public School employees, whether it's at Centerville High School or any other high schools out there, that are procuring abortions or involved in some other really horrendous criminal activity?
And that's exactly my point. So my point when I looked at this story and I confirmed what I've, multiple statements, witness, all this stuff, I was like, if there's two, there's more. There is. There's never just a couple cases of something like this. This is something that has been going on for an extended period of time, and they finally got caught. How many did we miss? How many 16, 17-year-old girls have gotten abortions without their parents knowing about it? I mean, you got to think about it from the worst case scenario, right? The 5-month pregnant girl. That's not like a, take a pill or a quick procedure. That is anesthesia, operating table. Your daughter could be on an operating table with you never hearing about it. That's what you need to think about that.
Yeah, I guess that's, and this is where the criminal violation comes in, because Virginia law is very clear. There can't be this no information, no contact, no advisory. They've got to tell. There has to be the involvement of a parent when it comes to abortions for minors. It's non-negotiable. I guess there's an extraordinary circumstance where they can go to a judge, to have a judge hear the circumstances or the situation and then rule on it. And that would, I guess that would be in a circumstance where the parents are completely out of control or whacked out on drugs or in prison or something. I mean, if there's some horrific home environment situation where it's either dangerous or impossible to go consult a parent, then they have a judge get involved to have some measure of review.
Right.
But that's it. I mean, it's not up to some school counselor to decide whether a teenage girl kills her kid or not, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the part that makes it criminal to me, is that, this is a violation of criminal law in Virginia. It's a felony. It is a felony to do this, and for good reason. I mean, for good reason. It's not just, take the abortion aspect out of it. If you want to talk to the liberals about it, take the abortion aspect out of it. What scenario would you ever be okay with the idea of your daughter being on an operating table without you knowing about it? What scenario is there that you're okay with that? There's none. The anesthesia comes with risks. Right. Any surgical procedure comes with risks. You don't want that to be the choice of random school counselors or random administrators that you don't know and that you don't even know what's going on. I mean, there's a reason it's criminal, because that's unacceptable behavior. It really is.
So I'm guessing that you have contacted Fairfax County Public Schools, perhaps Michelle Reed, and asked for comment or response to this. What's the reaction been?
Well, the funny thing is that I just let the other people do that. I didn't even go after them because I knew what their response was going to be. So I let Nick Minock, who's a reporter down there in Fairfax, and he actually went and asked them immediately about it. And he said, what's going on here? And they pointed him to a document that said that Fairfax County schools, their policies are supposed to make every effort to contact parents, which is hysterical because that's counter to Virginia law. It says, no, not every effort. It says you must contact parents and the parents must be informed.
Right. So
that's already a violation of state law and in their own policy. But further than that, when they're pressed on it further, they release this statement saying, we've never heard of such horrible things. Like, yeah, they're liars, and that's what I was waiting for. I want them to be, now they're on the record as liars, and they even told Laura Ingraham that they're liars. So it's great to me that they think that they're going to get away with this. But I hope it gets looked at by Mayorkas and the governor, because it needs to be. These people are clearly untrustworthy and out of control, and they don't care what they do with. I mean, it seems to them that your children are their property and they get to make the decisions, and that's counter to law and counter to just every moral that exists in this country.
Let's talk about the real public education in this case, and that's not coming from Fairfax County Public Schools, but the public education that you and I are engaged in right now, which is informing the public, whether you live in Northern Virginia or whether you live in, pick a place, I don't care. If you're a concerned citizen and you see that a major school district like this system here in Fairfax County is doing this kind of thing, what's your advice? What's your call to action, in particular for parents in Fairfax County, but also just around the country? What's your call to action to inform and motivate and educate concerned citizens and certainly parents?
So when I talk about this stuff specifically, when I bring it up on my podcast and, when I talk about it publicly, what I really point people to is there are great resources out there. Courage is a Habit is a fantastic organization run by a guy named Alvin Louis. And if you go to their courageisahabit.org, they have resources for everybody that show what school-based healthcare centers are. They show what these policies are, how they operate, how they obfuscate truth from parents, how they make sure that you don't understand what some of the language in their policies are. They do it intentionally so that it makes it complicated for parents. But they break it down and make it really good. So I encourage everyone to go look at their work and really follow them, because they know what they're talking about. And I've been working with them for a couple years now. I've known these guys, and they are at the forefront of it.
Give me the website again.
It's courageisahabit.org.
Courageisahabit.org. That's very good advice, very strong advice. Obviously, Laura Ingraham was a big get when it comes to pushing this story out. This will go out to Judicial Watch supporters around the country. It's a pretty large list, so it's both email and all the social media. We'll promote it. We'll try to get people informed and motivated on this. I think WJLA, which is the ABC affiliate here in the Washington, D.C. area, they've picked the story up as well?
Yes, that's Nick Minock. So Nick Minock on WJLA, he was the one that picked it up and really made the story. Him running the story, and then it started trending on social media is when we really got traction on it.
Yeah.
So they've been all over this stuff. And, Nick Minock, he's won awards for his reporting on Loudoun. So, I think he's all over this story. And from what I understand, he's looking into the administrators now. That's
great. I mean, it's refreshing. It's a surprise that the editors at WJLA didn't spike a story like this, because generally speaking, I know this is shocking to you, but the Washington, D.C. media environment is not terribly friendly to these sorts of, they're the kind of people that want to give promotions to Principal Chad Lehman, right? They think that they can't have enough abortions in high school. That's normally the position that they would take. So, tip of the hat to WJLA for actually reporting on something that's pretty outrageous and very, very well could be criminal. And I really anticipate, or at least express my hope, that Attorney General Mayorkas steps in, because Fairfax County appears to be completely out of control. The school system is in cover-up mode. You got literally a George Soros district attorney in Fairfax. So I just don't expect a lot of action unless the Attorney General in Virginia, Governor Youngkin, steps in. I think it would dead end otherwise.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you completely there. I think that has to come from state leadership. Otherwise, this guy won't do anything. He won't look into it. He won't investigate it. It's going to have to come from Mayorkas and the governor's office, which, from what I understand, they're involved in looking at this stuff. So hopefully they're taking it very seriously, because it deserves to be taken seriously.
It should
Criminal actions need to be investigated.
Yeah, and I also hope that there's enough courage out there where there's other educators, other parents, perhaps even former students. So let's say it's a young lady who's now in her 20s, right? But if you go back 10 years ago, whatever, something happened or something was done, or there's kind of a second thought or a bit of a conscience where folks will step up and say, hey, wait a minute, I know something. Mm-hmm. And let's really have some accountability instead of all the usual defensive tactics and blaming the victims and attacking the reporters, which is the usual techniques that are applied in a case like this.
Absolutely. In fact, I've even put out a statement that if any teachers or former students or parents that know something, if they want to contact me, I will keep your entire identity in confidence, and nothing will be published without your explicit approval.
Sure.
So anybody who wants to put that stuff out there, if you want to contact me, I'm more than willing to talk to you, and I'll keep your identity safe. And they can't force me to do anything. I'm already their persona non grata right now, and I'm more than happy to upset them. So. My intention is that if anybody wants to say anything, you can bring it to me and I'll be happy to work with you. I mean, that's what I want. I want more people to come forward because, again, the point being is that if there's two, there's more.
I agree with you 100%. Walter, Curt, you've done fantastic work. I'm going to give you the last word. I want you to say whatever it is you want to say to recap, and then be sure to let us know where people can follow you and your work in reporting. You're doing tremendous stuff, and congratulations, and I hope that folks follow through and stay with this, not just this story, but the work that you're doing.
I appreciate that, Chris. And, the big thing for me is I just want parents to realize that these schools do not have the power that they think they do. They're your children. They are not in charge of their lives. You are in charge of your kids' lives, and that these schools believe that they have that authority, but they do not. And they need to be reminded by that, and they need to stand up to these people, because if you don't stand up to them, they will take the authority from you if they can. And that's what I want people to realize, that no, that's not allowed, and we're not going to stand for that in this country. And I think people need to stand up. They need to realize that if you don't pay attention in this next coming governor's race, this is going to be forced on you, and you're not going to have a choice. So that's what I really try to push out to people. And if you want to follow my work, you can go to wcdispatch.com, or you can follow me on X at WCDispatch. And, I've got more coming on the Virginia politics coming out here very soon. So more stories coming soon.
Walter, Curt, thank you for joining us on Watch. Thanks again for joining us. We appreciate the time that you take to listen to or view the show. Please contact us and let us know what you're interested in us pursuing in our own reporting. And just know that we continue 31 years into the existence of Judicial Watch to pursue accountability and integrity in government politics and the law. I'm Chris Farrell on Watch.